Hi, I'm Kristen.
Hi, I'm Michelle.
We're readers and writers.
We're sci-fi and fantasy fans, and this is the best of all worlds.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to our podcast. And today we've got a very interesting topic to talk about. So, if you're anywhere in the book community, I'm sure you've heard about Romantasy. It's the latest big trend. It's all over, like books like Fourth Wing, Court of Thorns and Roses, all of that. It's just any bookstore you walk into, you're gonna find it.
Oh, yeah.
And so we thought we would share our thoughts on the Romantasy genre, kind of coming at this from an interesting perspective, because both Michelle and I enjoy fantasy books, but neither of us are very big romance readers. So we're kind of coming at this from an angle of like, we're not the target audience for Romantasy.
Not at all.
But I think as fantasy readers, we've also both found things to enjoy in it.
Exactly.
So kind of we're not on the rabid Romantasy train, nor are we on like the Romantasy is just spice and smut and we don't like this. Like we are neither of those extremes. We're like pretty much right in the middle. So hopefully we can provide some kind of neutral thoughts on the genre and kind of what we like and don't like, and have an interesting conversation here. And feel free to join us down in the comments, your thoughts on Romantasies, which ones you've liked, what issues you have with them. But it can get kind of controversial because people have strong opinions on Romantasy. So
she says
can. Please don't get controversial, I guess.
No, please do.
Let's all be nice and civil. You are welcome to have opinions. Just state them politely, please.
Yes.
Thank you.
With respect.
And we will do our best to do the same.
Yes. It's okay to not like something. It's not okay to be mean about it.
Exactly.
It's just as simple as that. It's one thing to joke around a little bit with people that you know. It's another thing to put people down for liking Romantasy, and I feel like that's common. And I think a lot of that comes from not really understanding the genre and just thinking of it as pure smut or something.
Yeah. So I guess the best place to start off would just be defining Romantasy, which is apparently a harder thing to do than I expected, because I was looking online and people can't really agree on exactly what Romantasy means. But the way I define it myself is a fantasy that either the main biggest plot is romance, or like the romantic plot is like equally important to some other plot that's going on. Basically very, very romance forward story, as well as it usually involves some level of spice.
Yeah.
And it typically has a little bit of like an escapist vibe to it. Like even if it's dark, there's still like an element of like, oh, I relate to the main character, or ooh, I'm swooning over the male love interest. It's got that certain vibe to it that makes it a Romantasy. It's the romance vibe, I guess. So it has the vibe of a romance book.
Right.
But it's in a fantasy world and plot.
Yeah, and I think I've always had a little bit of like a, not necessarily aversion to, but long story short, all my mom ever read was romance novels, so I sort of had a predisposition towards them, because I always looked at her covers and I'm like, why would you want to read something like this? I never even tried a single one, so I have no idea how good these romance novels were that my mom was reading. I just had like a visceral negative response to it because, my mom was reading it. I don't know how to describe. It was like almost, I don't know. It's like, it's gross because my mom's doing it kind of thing, even though that's like really not fair to her, but that's just where my child brain went, and then it just kind of stayed that way.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I have, romance is everywhere in books, so I've been reading books with romance forever, and it's just never been my main interest. Like, I think now that I'm married, I'm actually a little more interested in it than I've ever been before, but I'm still not that interested in it. I can appreciate it, but only when there's other stuff going on aside from the romance that I find interesting too, which Romantasy often does, which is the thing that I appreciate about it, is it's like you can get the romance with some other cool stuff going on at the same time.
Right. That's probably the thing that makes it more appealing as someone who doesn't really prefer straight romance. Romantasy can kind of find that middle ground of, yes, it's still technically a romance story, but with the backdrop of a really interesting world and magic system that makes it a little bit more interesting to read than just a straight girl falls for guy.
Yeah.
Well, has to pick between two guys.
Yeah, there's often a love triangle involved.
Almost
which is
always.
neither of our favorites,
Yeah.
but you know. Some are worse than others.
Yeah.
Some are like, okay, there's the illusion of a love triangle, but this one guy stands absolutely no chance, so I'm not that worried about it.
Exactly. Which I'm sure we'll get to when we get to some examples. But before we do, I think it's important that we both, kind of talk about, I don't know, just generally having respect, because the genre, there's nothing inherently wrong with the genre, and I feel like looking down on people for reading Romantasy is just, it's rude.
There's a lot of just the inherent like sexism in a lot of the criticisms of Romantasy. Now, I'm not saying that people who don't like Romantasy are sexist. Like that is patently untrue.
Right.
There are plenty of reasons to not like Romantasy other than that. But there are definitely a lot of criticisms. It's like, oh, this is just spice. This is just smut. Like this can't be quality literature. It's like, listen, have you read some other books that are, written by men and feature male characters?
Right.
And you're not upset about those? There are so many books that personally I do not enjoy that are like really focused on the male gaze. I'm like, please stop. And yet, all these people coming after these books that are more focused on the female gaze is like, okay, I don't really prefer either of these two things, but you can't go criticizing one without criticizing the other.
Exactly.
And there's a lot of people who are specifically criticizing the female books and not the male books, which that's just hypocritical, and I do not appreciate it.
I think maybe what's going on is that with male gaze, it's usually like girl hot, I do girl, and now I'm going back to action. So they're typically action stories that just happen to have spicy scenes between a male and an excessively hot female who just happens to be there and perfect.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. I feel like the male gaze focused stories tend to be a lot more action focused, and the female gaze stories tend to be more like relationship focused. And honestly, both of these things are valid, so let's just stop arguing.
Exactly. I can point out plenty of those.
Yeah. People can enjoy what they enjoy, because I'm not going to come after you for enjoying spice, because I don't want you to come after me for not even wanting that much romance in my books at all. So it's like, to each their own. Like, let's just let people enjoy the things they enjoy, and if you don't enjoy it, don't read it.
Yeah, there are hundreds of millions of thousands of books. There's plenty out there for your taste. If it's not your taste, just shut the book and move on. It's that easy. No one's better than anyone else because you don't like something.
Exactly.
Or that you do like something.
And hey, sometimes it's even good to read something that you don't personally relate to, because that's how you learn empathy. And empathy is cool.
Want to know what your girlfriend likes? Read Romantasy.
You can learn some things.
But, all that being said, as we have prefaced, we're not exactly the target demographic, so there are plenty of things that are not our favorites about Romantasy. And I can tell you my number one pet peeve of Romantasy is that the male love interest is almost always this exact copy-paste character who's tall, dark, brooding, kind of evil, but no, actually, he's morally ambiguous and we can save him kind of deal, and that gets a little old.
Yeah, especially the fact that they are all like tall,
Mm-hmm.
dark-haired, and like look the exact same, except maybe like one has different tattoos and
Right.
another one has wings. Like, it's a little comical
Right.
after you've read enough of them. It's like, okay, can you make someone
Right.
who's blonde or something? Like, why can't someone be like a redhead? Like, no, that wouldn't nearly be sexy enough, I
The ginger
guess.
hate is just in every genre. This is unreal. But yeah, like for example, one such character really got under my skin when I was reading this book, and I know you haven't read that, but that is the book called Quicksilver. Up until halfway into the book, I was sold. I had problems with the main character, but for the most part I was sold. I thought the world was interesting. I thought the setup was really cool. And then there was the scene, which is why the book is named Quicksilver, and that was really cool. Then all of a sudden there is this tall, dark, handsome man, and he's like way too sexual with her from the start, and they're just flirting back and forth while she for some reason is saying that she's not into him even though she keeps flirting with him.
Yeah. I haven't read that one. I honestly am not super like well read in the
Neither
romantasy
am I.
genre, but I've read enough of like the popular ones. So the number one like romantasy book that comes to mind that really did not do it for me is the first like ACOTAR book, A Court of Thorns and Roses. I will say I like the
Interesting.
later books better, which we'll get to, but I did not like the first one, and I'd give two reasons for that. Is number one, the characters were making the stupidest decisions that made no logical sense, and I could not. I'm like, what? Well, but why would you do that, knowing that, like, even when information was revealed later on, I'm like, that does not make that decision make any more sense. Like, that's just you could have made so many choices that would have been even just a little bit better than that. That was like, I don't know. I got really frustrated with the character decisions in that book.
That's understandable. It sounds for valid reasons.
And also the love interest. The love interest sucks. Mild spoilers for ACOTAR. For some reason, you don't know it at this point, but the love interest in book one is not the love interest for the rest of the series. Thank goodness, because I hated him.
That explains it.
So it gets better because he is no longer the love interest, but I could not stand him from the start. And I was so glad that she ended up with the other guy, because I'm like, no. That he was a walking red flag for me. I was like, please,
almost
no.
like it ends with us, where the main character just comes out a giant walking red flag, and you're like, "Are you kidding me right now? You're into this?"
Yeah. So it's like, maybe on reread, I would appreciate it better knowing that he is not the ultimate love interest, and I could just read it being like, yeah, this guy is actually kind of the worst, and we're not supposed to be rooting for this. Okay. But when I was first reading it, I'm like, am I supposed to be rooting for this? I am not rooting for this. I don't like him.
I mean, honestly, for a first book in a series, you would imagine that to get people into the book series, you'd write a story about a romance that people are invested in.
I don't know. Clearly it's worked for a lot of people, because that is like the most popular romantasy series, except for like maybe Fourth Wing. But it really didn't work for me, and I had to be convinced by multiple people to pick up the second book because I disliked the first book that much.
That's so funny. I didn't even get more than a chapter into the first book. I don't know, something about the prologue just put me off. And I don't know, maybe it's because I started off by reading the first chapter of the fifth book. That was my introduction to ACOTAR. And it just starts with one of the characters naked and like flirting with this guy, and I was like, oh, yeah, no, this isn't for me. So I put it down, and then I was like, okay, let me give it another go. I'll start with the first one. I'll do like, what you're supposed to do, which is, start with the beginning one. And I didn't like the opening. I thought it was really cliche, and I was bored, and I didn't push through. So I'm not opposed to giving it another chance, but We'll see.
It's worth it to read the second one, in my opinion, which
Okay.
we'll get to in a bit. I actually really liked the second one.
Okay.
And the third one was decent. But yeah, I didn't like the first one, and I did bounce off of the fifth one. So
Yeah. But you're also kind
it's
of a Sarah J.
yeah.
Maas fan in
I
general,
really
right?
like her Throne of Glass series.
Mm-hmm.
I read that in like high school and college, and I really enjoyed those because they were a lot heavier on like the fantasy stuff.
Mm,
There was definitely a lot of romance in it, but it felt less like a romantasy and more like, hey, there's political intrigue, there's factions, there's
mm.
wars, there's assassins. Like there were a lot of things going on in that series that were more than just the romance, which I enjoyed.
Interesting. And then
But
here she is just making full romance with a sprinkle of fantasy now.
yeah, it's like I want more heavy on the fantasy than the romance. That's what I like best. I will
Same.
appreciate a little bit of romance as long as it is not the biggest thing in the book. Then
Yeah.
it's like, okay, I might as well just go read a romance book then.
Yeah. That series that I keep talking to you about called Iron Widow, there are technically spicy scenes in it, and there is some mild romance between the main character. Well, more than mild, between the main character and her love interest. But I feel like it doesn't hit the romantasy requirement because it's definitely not half the value of the main plot. Like the main plot definitely supersedes the romance subplot. It's a subplot. It's not a plot. But there are spicy scenes. So I'm sure
Mhm.
there's people out there that would categorize it as romantasy because of that.
I from what you've described of it, it sounds like the vibe is very much not a romantasy
Yeah, not
vibe.
at all, yeah. There just happens to be some romance, yeah.
I feel like the vibe is important when classifying a romantasy, in my opinion. Like
Yeah.
because yeah, there could be a romance that's important to the plot, but if it the vibe is not the vibe of a like romance book,
Right.
then it's I'd probably put it in either like fantasy romance category or just fantasy and there
Just
happens to be
fantasy.
romance.
Yeah. It's. I feel like though all books that have a spicy scene should have a content warning. That's just my opinion. I don't like being thrown into those. I mean, I know it's kind of especially like, 90s movies and stuff almost always had some kind of obligatory sex scene or something, but I still feel like there should be a warning. You should know that what you're about to read will accost your eyes. That's me.
Yeah. And I feel like that's where the romantasy genre label comes in is like if you
Mm-hmm.
see a book labeled as romantasy, it's kind of an expectation that you'll probably see some spice in it.
Exactly. Yeah. And usually it's pretty obvious that a chapter is a spice chapter, and if you don't want to read the spice, you can just skip it.
Yeah. No, it definitely is like skippable for sure if you're like, nope, that's not for me. Honestly, I think having a spice scene in a story, even though spice scenes aren't my favorite, it doesn't take away from the quality of all the other
Right.
stuff in the book. Like unless for some reason it like significantly impacts the plot, which it almost never does. It's like
You're right.
it really does not impact the quality of the story being told.
That's why I'm a fan of fade to black. Like we don't need to go through all the motions. We can just be like, yeah, it happened. Cool. Let's move on. Got it. But again, we don't love our spicy scenes. But
Yeah.
a book that was pretty good, and we've both read this one, and I can see why it's so popular. Is Fourth Wing. Fourth Wing was actually
Yes.
pretty decent, even though it still had the same tropes: tall, dark, and handsome.
Yeah.
Try something new for a change.
Yeah. No, I really enjoyed Fourth Wing like a lot more than I expected to, honestly. And that's because I feel like the romance plot in that book was co-equal with like the underdog trying to make her way
Right.
through a murder school plot. And I am a sucker for an underdog story and also a murder school. And so
I thought you were gonna say that in the other order, but that's just me. I think I'm the one that would prefer the murder school.
I mean, listen, I like both. And so you put them together, I'm like, okay, I'm here. And then you add in dragons, I'm like, okay, I'm here even more. And the dragons are sassy. I'm sold.
Oh, the dragons were so cool. Yes, the dragons are very sassy.
The dragons are the best part of Fourth Wing, in my opinion. Forget the
Oh, for
romance.
sure.
I want the sassy dragons.
Yeah, cut out all the romance scenes and just give me the more dragon scenes. Like whatever spice scenes there were, just cut those out and let's have more dragon scenes, please.
Yes. But yeah, no, I actually genuinely, unironically like Fourth Wing. I think the later books are not quite as strong as it, but like it's still, for a romantasy, I'd probably call it my favorite romantasy that I've read, as
Interesting.
long as we don't count a couple other books that I personally do not consider
Right.
romantasy. We'll get to that in a moment.
I don't know, if we're going by that categorization, then I would agree. I like it a lot. I really didn't like Quicksilver that much. I wanted to. All my coworkers were really into it. I had fun reading it, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't my favorite. I didn't like it very much.
Yeah. Well, I haven't read it, and it's not particularly on my list of things to read. This has not changed my opinion. But I did promise I'd talk about the second ACOTAR book, so let's talk
Okay.
a little bit about A Court of Mist and Fury. Mildish spoilers if you care about what happens in book one. Honestly, book two is way more interesting than book one, so you're not missing that much. But basically, book two, Court of Mist and Fury, was so much more interesting to me because, first of all, crappy love interest gone. Second of all, it's really focused on the main character, like getting through like PTSD. And I really loved that about it. Like it was honestly like a really good mental health rep book. And I
That's
appreciate
nice.
that a lot. Like I love a book that's like willing to dive into like, yeah, like getting over like traumatic events like that is hard. Like, and it really
Right.
did a good job of deeply exploring the consequences and the struggles of like getting back and like getting better after something like that. And I loved that about this book, and I think that's why A Court of Mist and Fury is by far my favorite of the ACOTAR books that I've read.
Interesting.
Because, yeah, it just had that thematic element that was like, okay, like, even though the plot is maybe not the strongest thing I've read in a book ever, the themes and the character relationships were just, those were really, really strong. And for me, themes and character relationships can carry a book, even if
They
you
can,
know,
yeah.
even if other things are maybe not the top. Those, just the way it handled mental health was just beautiful, and I appreciate that so much. So I really do like the second ACOTAR book, despite all the crap that I said about the first one. The second one's actually good. So
That is unexpected to hear that it's got exploration of PTSD, because in general I feel like that's underexplored, or maybe just I haven't found that many books that deal with people with PTSD to have that sort of mental health problem be explored. And that's not an easy one. I mean, that's an incredibly difficult one to live with and to try to have a relationship through. So that sounds like it'd be really interesting to explore.
yeah, no, it was like, it really surprised me how good it was. So I really appreciated that.
Good. Well, I guess we should then talk about some books that could be put under romantasy, but we wouldn't necessarily put it under romantasy.
There's always this question of how do you define romantasy? If it's a book, it's a fantasy book and it has a romance in it, does that make it romantasy? You know, if it's a fantasy book written
Right.
by a woman that has a romance in it, does that make it romantasy? I would argue no. I don't
Right.
think so. I think it has to, first it has to have the vibes. The romance has to be like, if not sole main plot, like more of like a co-plot with something else.
Mm-hmm.
Like it has to be that combination of things to qualify as a romantasy for me. And there's some books that I was looking up, I'm like, this is qualified as romantasy. I would disagree.
Interesting, because as you're saying that, I'm kind of thinking of this example, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, and I would say that the romance is pretty heavy, especially come the second half of the book. Like, that's deeply related to her core issue. The romance is a solution to that in a way.
I'd still in that one though. I would not categorize that as a romantasy because I think the main plot that's stronger in that story is Addie like working through the boundaries of the
That's
magic of
true.
her curse. The romance becomes like a vehicle to work through that, but that's still the main
Right.
plot, and the romance still feels
Interesting.
secondary to me. At least it did when I was reading. Maybe I was just really obsessed with how cool the magic was, and I'm like, forget the romance. I'm just focused on this. So perhaps I missed how important the
Interesting.
romance was, but when I think back to that book, the romance just escapes my mind, and I'm just focused on like the magic and the
Interesting.
curse and the working around it. That was really cool.
See, to me, the romance really stands out a lot. And, like, there's a few scenes specifically from this couple that made a pretty big impression on me, like when they went into that museum, for example. So that's very interesting that you're like, I don't know, I could see both. I could see the argument going either way, to be honest.
And I've got another one that I think will also be kind of a maybe a hot take that I don't think it's romantasy, because this is a pretty commonly labeled as romantasy book, and that would be The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. So this is a I can't remember if I talked about it on this podcast at all, but it's a book featuring kind of this human girl who's in this fae world, and these fae are like the sketchy backstabbing, like making deals, can't tell a lie type of fae. So like the type of fae that I love. So I actually really enjoy the Cruel Prince trilogy, and I think it's really good. And I also don't think it's a romantasy because I think it's way more focused on the politics than it is on the romance, personally. There is definitely a strong romance plot in the story. The romance is important, but I think selling it as a romantasy kind of sold it short to me as
Interesting.
someone who's not really that much into the romance. I loved this book because of the politics, and I think the politics are such a central focus. The politics and the fae world and the conniving and the backstabbing, like that's really the draw of this story to me, and I feel like it stood out far above the romance. But again, this is coming from the point of view of someone who obviously romances don't stand out to me that much.
Forgot the main romance subplot of Addie
Listen, I knew there
LaRue.
was a romance. It just made no lasting impression on
That's
me.
so funny to me. Oh my gosh. That is so fun. No, they're in New York in the bookstore. Oh my gosh.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
I've
that is
probably
so
upset a
funny.
lot of people, but
You
this is
probably
fine.
did. You
This is
probably did.
fine.
But my question about the Cruel Prince, going back to that, is the love interest tall, dark, and handsome and brooding?
I don't know if he's tall, but he's definitely dark, handsome, and brooding. Well, at least dark
So,
haired.
so it is a romance. No, just kidding.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I will fully admit Carden definitely fits like the kind of trope of the romantasy love interest. It definitely,
That's
I'd say
funny.
The Cruel Prince is close to romantasy. I just feel like calling it romantasy is unfair to like the level of like interesting politics in the story that just I don't know. It's kind of borderline. I'm not mad about
Interesting.
people calling it romantasy, but I think calling it romantasy sells short all the other stuff going
Right.
on outside the romance. So
I mean, I'll be honest, as a reader who's not super into romantasy, seeing something tagged as romantasy is a turnoff to me and would make me less likely to read it than if you're like, it's a fantasy. and leave out the fact that there's a romance in there, and I just get I expect at this point, I mean, I put it as one of my least favorite tropes, just an obligatory romance. Like, I'm expecting it, I feel like writers think it's expected. So if you tell me something's a romantasy, I'm like, okay, it's mostly a romance. I'll probably not be into it. But if you told me it's fantasy and there happens to be a romance in it, I probably wouldn't be as turned off. And I'd probably be more likely to give it a chance, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'd be like someone like trying to sell Mistborn as romantasy. Like there is a romance in that. Like there's actually I really like the couple in Mistborn. Like I think they're cute. And that is a romance that I actually stand behind quite a bit. But I would not sell that book as a romantasy just
It is
because
such
there's
a
a
small
central
subplot.
couple.
Yeah, that is such a small subplot. I almost feel like Vin in a dress is more prominent of a subplot than their romance.
Yeah. So it's just I don't know. It's kind of a discussion of semantics, but I
A little
just
bit.
find it interesting just the way people define romantasy versus the way I define romantasy. I don't know, how do you define romantasy? Let us know in the comments.
Yes, tell us all about
I'm
it.
very curious. And another one I want to bring up to just put one last point on fantasies that I don't think are romantasy would be Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. This one I also saw categorized as romantasy, and I think this one is definitely a romance. Like it is definitely a fantasy romance. But it's also does not have the vibes. Like this is not an escapist story. This is like a gritty, realistic, like World War I inspired like war correspondence story that talks about like the civilian cost of war. And that is not a romantasy vibe to me at all. Like no.
No, I actually remember at my work we have this little reading club and we all picked up this book and I was expecting it to be a lot more romance than it was, and I was genuinely pleasantly surprised by how little it was a romance and how much more was about like the situation and the context of it all, and the World War I backdrop that was pretty traumatic. So
yeah. And I mean, I really actually do like the romance in Divine Rivals. Like, Divine Rivals is a good book. Like, I liked that book. But yeah, I think it was just a little too, like, dark of a tone to be a true romantasy, because it is just, like, a little too, like, realistic. I feel like romantasies are not realistic.
Oh, yeah, it's got to be a super escapist. You get plucked out, you're special, you've got these powers now, and now you're in this awesome world with these awesome people, and then there's Mr. Tall, Dark, and Handsome for you to fall in love with, and he's the most powerful of them all. And people don't like him, but he's likable, and you're going to find out why. That is a romantasy.
He hates everyone except you. He will die for you.
Right. And I guess that goes without saying, there are definitely sapphic romantasy out there. I haven't happened to read any, but I do know that is like a fairly popular subgenre of romantasy. My favorite spicy series is Dune. It's very spice heavy.
That's a different kind of spice.
But it's got a lot of it. It's got a lot of spice. So spice is in the air in Dune. Okay, it's in the air.
Oh no.
It's here, there, and everywhere. Anyway, I digress. Tell us all your thoughts, your feelings, your emotional roller coaster that you went through with us on this journey. And do you have any recommendations for us based on what we've described about our feelings about romantasy? Do you have a love for the romantasy genre? Do you dislike the romantasy genre? Tell us all about your reasons why down below.
Yes, and be nice.
And be respectful. Yes, be respectful. Don't hate on people for writing romantasy. It is their preference. Let them write what they want to write. That's their choice. That is freedom of expression.
And you're allowed to like the romantasies that we don't like. If you're really into A Court of Thorns and Roses, more power to you.
I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that are like, you guys are wrong. I look forward to reading all of your comments, and until next time.
Yeah, have a great day.
Bye.